Today, I've got Gary Gold, who's a colleague of mine, has done some amazing things in real estate sales, sold the Playboy Mansion.
That was a good one.
And today we are focusing on a question. And do you want to pose that question to me?
Yeah. And it's a good question for me because as much as I know about real estate, I know very little about investment real estate. I know it's a good residential property, and if that's a good investment, but short of that, even though I've sold some big investment properties, I really am no expert on it. So I have these are legitimate questions I have for you.
Great.
And the big question is, if you were getting involved in real estate investing now, or you were considering, where do you start?
You're nearly dead on. The question that I got from the audience was, everything that you know now, go ahead and bring it to the table, but pretend this is your first investment. So you know all you know, but now it's my first investment. What am I going to do in order to do that?
Can I give you a pre-question to that question?
Pre-question.
Has the fundamentals changed at all, or are they exact same, or there are some big shifts that people should look at?
I would say the fundamentals are the same. Mm-hmm. So the things that I learned along the way are just as applicable now as they were before. Now there are different markets, there are different things going on, but the fundamentals are the same. Mm-hmm. Do I have any money? Like, do I have $0 and I want to start now? Do I have some?
Right.
Do I have a bunch of money? What I get? Maybe I'll start with zero.
Do that, because a lot of people like, do I need money to start? My thought is, yes, you do.
Right.
Or you need to understand real estate and have some opportunity and have the ability to show your value to an investor that will cut you in.
That's correct.
Or if you're an agent, maybe you throw in your commission or something like that.
Sure.
So let's start there.
So the first big investment that I did, and it really, to this day is like a big home run, I did with no money. And the way that I did that was I found this great opportunity with a business partner. And I took that opportunity. He and I took that opportunity to our brothers. Our brothers are both older than us. Our brothers both, made money. My partner's brother made really significant money in, the internet bubble, like 3 bubbles ago, you know? And my brother is just a very well compensated doctor who, made good money, really saved his money. And so therefore, very smart, both of them very smart, frugal, my brother frugal, my friend's brother, really a quantitative analytic guy, but not in real estate. So we took the opportunity and really analyzed that opportunity and showed them what it would look like over time and what we could do with it, and made a compelling enough argument to them for them to put in the money for it. So each one of them, essentially, they put in the same amount of money. I mean, it was a big deal at that time. It took $1.2 million in cash. Okay. We also got a loan.
Did you take out the loan, or those two did?
We took out the loan and they had to co-sign it.
Okay. So you took out the loan. That was a part of your somewhat of a commitment. And then what percentage of that deal did you get?
Normally, in a normal syndication, a syndication is just a fancy way of saying we're going to use other people's money.
Right.
A normal
investors,
correct.
And you're going to call the shots, and they're going to be limited partners.
That's correct. Or a general partnership, limited partnership. Exactly. A normal investment, a normal syndication or general partner, limited partnership, is done with the general partners taking a bunch of fees up front, an acquisition fee, finance fee, assets under management fee. So all these fees. And then the money partners get a preferred return. And what that means is that you don't take profits before they get paid a certain amount. And I think at that time, the preferred return was about 7%, which was a decent rate of return at that time. So they knew they were getting the first 7%. But in a normal deal, it's fees first to the general partners, then preferred return.
Okay.
And then you split the profits. And the normal way to do that is 70% of the profits to the money people and 30% of the profits to the general partners. Now, our deal was slightly different. And
now, usually do the general partners have skin in the game?
Oh, that's a great question. And I will say this to you. Every deal is different. You can do it any way you want to do it, but there is a rule of thumb. And that rule of thumb is that the general partners really must have 10% of their own money in it. Now, I see some of the internet personalities that are doing these funds, and sometimes I've kicked the tires on them and see like, well, what's their deal look like? And they literally have no money in. And a smart investor is never going to stand by and allow that. Because,
well, in those cases, they're probably selling, not that it's legitimate or a good idea or not, but they're selling their celebrity. Like they're bringing something to the game because they've blessed it or they've put it together, which is at the end of the day, it probably is nonsense. Probably doesn't, it raises money, but I don't think it raises the value of real estate.
Oh, and I'm going to tell you that my brother and my partner's brother did not want to buy celebrity. They don't want to buy celebrity. Right. You know, my
their pride didn't exist at the time, but
yeah, of course.
But they wouldn't. That wouldn't.
No way.
Most of the people I know here in Beverly Hills, I don't think that that's what they're looking for.
No way.
They want the rabbi's price.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not sure what the rabbi's price is, but it sounds.
I'm not either.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
That's a good deal. So a normal deal is, but you asked a great question. So a normal deal would be general partners put 10% in. So in that example where it was $1.2 million, we would have had to put in $120,000 of the $1.2 million cash.
Did you forego any of those normal fees? Was that your
bargain? What we did was we did a deal that seems like a lot more friends and family kind of deal. We had no fees, zero fees.
Right.
And some fees are legitimate because you have to have a bookkeeper. Somebody's got to pay for a bookkeeper. You know, you're really putting in a lot of time. There's got to be even admin and that sort of thing. So some of the fees are legitimate. I think generally the fees are overblown and that people will.
Well, it's their business. So they're trying to make money.
Yeah. And they're trying to make money, whether the deal makes money or not.
Right.
And that's the problem with fees.
They're trying to create a job.
Yeah, that's correct. And so what we did was we had no fees. We still had the preferred return, and then we split the upside 50-50.
Right.
None of the four of us really knew what a typical syndication deal looked like. Well, that's just what we came up with
They were your brothers. They did just solid, but you probably got them into a good deal.
The deal was unbelievable.
Right.
And in fact, when you really, if you spreadsheet out a deal, like pro forma out a deal, it depends on how good of a deal it is. But, you know, splitting the upside 50-50 sounds crazy to an investor that's used to the usual deal. But when you take no fees, it very much washes out. But it depends on how good of a deal it is. So if it's a bad deal, for example, then the fees, you're doing better than the investor. Okay. If it's a great deal.
So, Paul, right now you're a well-known expert investor. I want to know how you analyze the first deal, because that's who we're talking to. Mm-hmm. People analyzing their first deal. Mm-hmm. They don't know squat. What did you go off of? You probably, and to some extent, didn't know squat either, but you figured something out.
I was looking at a value add deal without knowing that it was called a value add deal. And that basically translates into an ugly duckling. So I'm looking at a deal that's like it was owned by a family for a long time. Again, these are criteria that people pick up over the years.
You saw there was upside where someone else might not see there's upside.
Yeah. And in fact, this was a family trust that was selling off all of these properties, and they were selling them all off at the same time. And we didn't have the time or energy or expertise to analyze a bunch of deals. We literally picked off the worst one, which was the ugliest one.
Right.
And it had hair on the deal. It had stuff problems that were chasing people away. And what we did was figure out how can we solve these problems and how much does it cost to solve these problems? And then what's it going to be worth afterwards? And then it really is the analysis that I did then on that first deal is remarkably similar to the analysis that I do today. I know
the difference and what made that one magical while you're talking about that, and where someone else brand new, it could be magical. When you're that person, you have the time and you have the patience to analyze a deal. How many years later is this now?
30, more than 30, yeah.
30 years later, when you get a lot of deals, you have a lot of opportunities, you're probably cherry picking things and maybe not putting the time into this ugly duckling. So if you're brand new and you have some smarts about yourself and take the time, you might see an opportunity where you might just be a little shrewder than an expert investor. Well, in that respect.
I will say it has to, that today I'm still looking, I'm hunting for the ugly ducklings.
But you want the prime ugly ducklings.
No,
it's still the same. Hey, listen, when you can see something other people don't, that's where the magic happens.
It's the only place. And I just did an episode about the house that I bought, and I call this thing brain damage. And the brain damage is the stuff that chases it, because now we're talking about residential real estate. It's right down the middle lane for you.
Yes.
And brain damage is what I referred to as the stuff that chases everybody away. That if you take the time, energy, and effort to look through it and see around it and see your way through it, that you get an automatic upside. And I'll just give you, just in the most basic sense, if you have a house and the house would be worth $600,000 if it was like done. Okay.
This is not anywhere near where we live.
It's a national podcast. But if you had a house that like done would be worth $600,000, and it has $100,000 worth of cosmetic bad stuff, which would be really bad. Like that's like the paint is falling off the ceiling, the lawn hasn't been mowed in 5 years. The doors aren't on right. The appliances are terrible. You can do all of this for $100,000. So you have all these problems. And when the house is done, it's worth $600,000. Now, what I'm telling you is there's $100,000 worth of problems. You should be able to buy that house for much less than $500,000.
Yeah, you need to hassle factor, the fudge the unknown.
And it's just going to scare people away. So
the best opportunities, like in residential real estate, the guys who are really successful, who are selling a lot of houses and they can just repeat, like our guys like Thomas James, where they're finding areas like the Palisades and the lots are very uniform and they can build the same thing over and over again. But the margins on those deals are very tight because there's dozens of people chasing after the same thing because they know what they need to build and they know what the outcome is.
Sure.
Now, if you're someone who can look up in the hills and get this one of a kind property that has all kinds of nuances. It's not a flat lot. It's not square. There's a lot more challenges. If certain people with a certain eye, they buy these things and they can buy it where there's not a lot of competition and they make a fortune. But it's hard to find one after another. I don't know if the same thing happens in commercial.
Sure. So everything that you just mentioned about like, the lot's not square and it's on a hillside and this is different and that's different. That's all of that is some form of brain damage.
Right.
And to go back to what you were saying, analyzing it then versus analyzing it now, I really do the same analysis. And that analysis is so basic. It goes like this. How much are we buying it for? How much are we going to put into it to get it to where we want it to be? How long does that take? And what's the after renovation value? Period. That's it. And when I still to this day, well, of course, I get a lot of the like prospectus after prospectus from these professional commercial realtors, and they put together this beautiful brochure, and it's got all of these things, all these different gross rent multiplier, and all these different things. I had a fabulous and successful commercial realtor on recently, and I've been doing this for 30 plus years. She's talking about stuff that I don't even consider when I do a deal today. And by the way, it was helpful. It was helpful to me. It's great. I'm not knocking that, but I'm just saying, like, I look at these things and it's like 18 pages, and I'm like, do I even understand this? And when I'm thinking that, there's our audience. How's my audience going to understand this? Right. When I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, do I even understand this? Because here's the deal. The bottom line is, what are we buying it for? What are we going to do to it? Okay. To add that value. How much does that cost? These are things you can find out. You go ahead of time with your crew and you say, like, okay, well, it needs new paint. What's that cost? It needs new plumbing. What does that cost? It needs a new roof. What does that cost?
Would it ever be a factor? Like, when I was thinking of these two types of things, the Thomas James that are buying things in the Palisades or Santa Monica or some uniform area, or the guys who are buying these one-offs in the hills and maybe selling something for more money, and it could be a much bigger return. The good thing about the Thomas James thing is they're looking at something. Where can I build, whether it's Westchester or Mar Vista or Palisades or Santa Monica, where there's a bunch of these, and I can do this over and over and over and over and over. That's a business when that's your business model. But I guess the upside, and where these individual investors, especially at the beginning, have an opportunity, is to find something where it is a one-off. They don't need to have 10.
That is such an amazing point. I'm not going to say his name because he likes to remain private now. A friend of mine had a really big real estate syndication that he built over more than a decade, and he had partners, but he sold that real estate syndication for $2.4 billion. Right. And to a huge private equity firm.
Right.
And when we would talk real estate together, he would say to me, he's like, oh God, I wish I could invest like you,
right.
Because, I can't, it doesn't meet my criteria if it's less than 200 units.
Right.
If it's 200 units or more, this is not a mom and pop seller. You don't door knock those. Okay. If they want to sell it, they're going to put it on the market. They're going to market it properly. Every investor that's at that level on the planet is going to see that deal. And then that's my starting point. Right. This is what he said to me. But you look at all these, like, oh, there's this cool niche deal over here, and I can do this and I can do that. And I really envy that. Now, of course, I kind of liked his exit at $2.4 billion. But there are different things, and real estate, it just wasn't all built at the same time. It's not traded on some exchange. So there's incredible opportunities. Just like residential, there's probably always a good time to make a smart investment. Correct.
And it's always a bad time to make a dumb one.
Correct. And I'll just mention it because the number of times that people ask me at the yoga studio or at a cocktail party, or I was just on fabulous podcast, Money Rehab, Nicole Lappin, and it's like, is now a good time to buy? I mean, everybody asks me that, and I'm not going to get into it because I answer it so many times, but it just goes like this. Real estate is so deal specific that there's never a good time, by the way, and there's never a bad time. Whatever you think is
cutting the right deal.
Yes. Whatever you think is the best time to buy, people are buying and losing money. Whatever you think is the worst time to buy, people are buying and making bundles of money. It is deal specific, period.
So you need that discipline to make a prudent deal.
Correct. And so I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts, and I loved your questions. I'm going to get into the nuts and bolts of, now I know all that I know, and you're going to drop me into whatever city. And that's just to say, not Los Angeles. I mean, Nicole was asking me, she's like, look, we live in LA, doesn't it really make more sense to rent than buy? And that's a whole nother discussion. Forget that. Watch the podcast.
It's the same answer, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, it matters what your deal is.
Sure.
Like, do you have any money?
Yeah, right. Sure. So, but let's just say, drop me anywhere, you could drop me in a big city if you want to, but let's stick with, outside the giant cities, and you drop me, pick a place. And I really don't know the area.
Okay.
Kauai. Wow. That's awfully nice.
Go to Kauai, the North Shore. That's weird.
Yeah. That's awfully nice.
I don't know what you're going to talk about there, but
yeah.
There's real estate.
Sure. So the first thing that I would do is I would identify a realtor that does a lot of investment deals. So they have a lot of investor clients.
Okay.
And what that tells me is that they have an eye to pick out good deals for their clients. That's how they make their living. If they're recommending a deal to a developer client and the deal is a total bummer, they're going to lose that developer client. Now, a lot of times developers already know what they want and they go to the realtor and they go, these are the kind of things we need to see, bring it to us. But you get somebody that has a realtor who has real chops in terms of representing developers or representing investors. That's the word. Yeah, sorry, not developers, but representing investors. And then you ask them what sorts of things do they specialize in, or what sorts of deals have they seen? Tell me about a really good deal. What does a really good deal look like to you? And it really should be a value add. Value add, to put it in its most clear terms, which is, not exact, it's the old adage of you buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. Right. And I always laugh about that because I go, well, okay, so I'm going to try and buy the worst house in the Beverly Hills Flats. I mean, okay.
There is some, I'm thinking about, let's forget about Hawaii. It's a little exotic out there, but where I've lived a long time, Playa del Rey, there's this little beach community and there is retail and office, very little of it, but right at the beach. It's about as prime as it gets in terms of you're at the beach. Correct. That not a lot of people go to, and it's a beautiful beach, but there's not a lot of traffic, but there's a lot of through traffic between Manhattan Beach and LA. How do you pencil? Is that could potentially have upside?
Sure.
If you saw some trend with other people investing, or how would you look at something like that?
Okay. So that's
do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. That's how do you pick the neighborhood?
Right.
And when I say buy the worst house in the best neighborhood, that's the adage. But what I really do is I buy a really bad property. And when I say bad property, I mean brain damage. Cosmetic is the best. Like a cosmetic damage, looks terrible, smells bad, maybe, is unsafe. These are things that you can really fix. That's the property in not the best neighborhood, but in a really good or getting really good neighborhood.
Yeah, like this one, I've moved to places that have had that. I was in Marina del Rey before that, when people didn't what are you doing in Marina del Rey? And it blew up. Yeah. My house doubled in value not that long. And this place, when I moved to Playa del Rey, it's this is like this little secret little beach community. Yeah. Couldn't be better located.
Yeah.
That kind of thing looks like, to me, I'd have to analyze the amount of people that are going there, but looks like there could have some potential. And I bet you the cost of real estate there is not that high. How do you look at that?
You want to look at really an emerging neighborhood. Okay. So that means that it
doesn't have very far to go, but it could get better.
Yeah. I have this thing where, in 30 plus years of investing, I've never lost money in a real estate deal. But I have bought things that, I've done better. I've done better and worse in deals for sure. And one of the things when I was in Pittsburgh, I also say buy where so the only places I own real estate now are Pittsburgh, which is where I'm originally from, LA, which I've been a while and I really know it. Also Joshua Tree, which is a drive away. I count that as local enough, but I'm not going with trends like, I heard certain part of Florida is blowing up, and everybody's running there. I'm not interested because I can find this stuff locally. So buy where and then also you buy the value add. The value add is you're finding a neighborhood. It's not the best neighborhood, but it's a really good neighborhood. And it's not there yet. And so you see some ramshackle stuff, but then you're also seeing some of the telltale signs of like the fancy coffee shop or like the vintage, the cool cafe, a really nice restaurant goes in.
I recognized about 6 years ago, Westchester. I remember about 10 years ago, I go, this place is amazing. Mm-hmm. And now it's the second hottest neighborhood in Los Angeles.
And no one saw that 10 years ago. So that's how you find it. And that's how you find the place. And do not buy something that is done. And then let them tell you that like, oh, well, over time, you're going to get this much appreciation. I count no appreciation in a deal. When I analyze a deal, future appreciation is not counted. I need to know, with the market staying the same or getting worse, how am I going to do better with this deal? And that's the value add piece. Right. So I want to get real nuts and bolts. So you drop me into, my fiance owns a house in Kalamazoo. If you dropped me in Kalamazoo, I really do not know Kalamazoo. I would find a realtor that does, and what you can do is just go to a big real estate firm, go to the manager, ask for the manager and say, hey, I want to be connected. I would definitely interview several realtors. And I'd say I want to be connected with a realtor that regularly represents investors. And I want somebody that's doing, in a small town like that, I want them to be doing 20 deals a year, for investors. And that's, for at least several years. That's showing a real track record of knowing. I would go to that person and I'd say, what kind of deals do you generally do? I'm looking for value add. I'm looking for an emerging area. I want to see evidence of that, and then you start looking at deals and you can pencil it out pretty quickly. So you look at, for example, let's say you've got a fourplex, okay, and you've picked out the neighborhood. It's an emerging neighborhood, so it's about 25-30% really nice and like 60% so or worse, and you look at the ones that are really done. If I look at a fourplex, it's very similar. I go, okay, well, how many square feet is it? Oh, it's, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath in each unit. What's it renting for? This is the really nice one. And then I go and I show me the ugly duckling. And the ugly duckling is 4 units, but it's ramshackle. So what is it going to take for me to get from ramshackle to what this target one is? And that's how I know that's where I can take the rents. And that's how I know.
And let's just say you're looking for, if it was a really edgy market, you'd probably want 7, 8, 9%. If it was a decent market, 5. If it was Beverly Hills, 2 or 3 would be fine, something like that. Well, and then you want it, the upside, like what could happen is the bonus. It's why you buy real estate. Is that the?
I'll tell you exactly how to do it. Okay. Pick the neighborhood first. Do your due diligence, drive around, hopefully I'm talking to people that want to get into real estate investing and they already live in the place. So I'm saying, drop me in Kalamazoo. I don't know anything about Kalamazoo. Really what we need to do is like drop my real estate investing knowledge into the head of someone that's lived in Kalamazoo for 15 years.
I always find it shocking that when people invest everywhere and
it's not for me. That's for sure. So now I've got somebody in Kalamazoo that has lived there for 20 years but they haven't invested in real estate.
We all need someone in Kalamazoo.
What's that?
We all need a Kalamazoo guy.
We do. I have several because my fiance is from there. But they would know wherever you are living, you already know the neighborhoods. You don't need to ask the realtor where the neighborhood is.
It's a total advantage.
You know the neighborhood. Now go to the realtor that sells, a bunch of investment property in that area and say, you know what? Show me one that's for sale. Let's just say our target is a fourplex. Show me a fourplex for sale that's done. I want to see the numbers. And, I hope they don't give you a super fancy pamphlet because a super fancy pamphlet's going to even confuse me. But even if they do, you go, okay, how much does it cost? What rents are they getting in these units? Oh, these units are beautiful. They're done. And what is the rate of return that you're going to get, which is your cap rate,
Right.
So what's your rate of return? And how much do you want to sell this to me for? And they go, well, we want to sell that to you for, for $1 million. You go, okay, well, how many days has it been on the market? Oh, it's been on the market for 60 days. Okay. So it's not really worth $1 million, right? Or it would be sold already. So, okay, what's it really worth? Maybe it's worth 900. Okay, great. That's done. That's how you set your mark right there. You don't want to buy that property. I'm not buying that property. That is what I call that retail.
Well, if it was a good deal, you'd like it.
It
never is.
It's not going to be a good deal.
I'm sure there are occasions where people need to unload.
It's already snapped up. The margin of discount for something that's done, and they really need to get rid of it tomorrow. You're going to get a little margin of discount because they need to get rid of it right away. I'm not looking for those. That's slightly below retail. I call that a retail buy. I'm not interested. Now, you could argue that anything that's on the market is a retail buy, but it's not. When it's done, it's a retail buy. Okay. Now I go, great. It's for sale for $1 million. It's been on the market for 60 days. What do you really think it's going to sell for? They go, well, if somebody came in at 9.25, they would probably, it would go if they lowered the price to 9.25. So 9.25 is the real price. Okay. That's your target. I don't want it. I don't want the 9.25 place even for $875. That's your little discount. Okay. So that's retail. Now I go, show me the one that's just like that. 4 units, same size units in the same area. That's a dump.
It's a beer.
And when you get that one that's a dump, what does it cost to get that dump into the same shape as the really nice one? And what we said is, let's say it's really worth $900,000. So if it needs $100,000 worth of work,
get some for $600,000 or $650,000.
Yeah, now you're at $650,000, and it needs $100,000 worth of work. Now you're at $750,000, and you're buying that place that's $900,000. Now you can see why even for $875,000, I really don't want it. And that's what I call a non-retail buy. Now that apartment that's a dump, that's $650,000, it's probably priced at $7.25 or $750,000, and it's been sitting on the market for a while. You go, okay, well, I'm really ready to buy. What can we get it for? Okay, maybe $675,000. So that's how you do that. This is not going to be controversial for you, right, and it's not going to be controversial for me. But my amazing audience is, going to call bullshit in the comments. Maybe I'm going to tell you how to negotiate your commission on this. I'm going to tell
as an agent.
I'm going to tell the audience how to negotiate their commission with this agent.
Okay.
When you find that, now we've found the agent, we found sort of a target buy, and we know, okay, so I know this agent, they sell 20, 30 of these a year.
Who's paying them the commission, a fee in this type of transaction?
So
does it vary?
Ultimately,
who are you negotiating with, the buyer or the seller?
Okay. So I'm going to a realtor who's going to represent me.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you how to negotiate your commission with that realtor that I'm going to get to represent me.
I'm exempt, by the way.
Yeah, he's exempt. Once you hear my negotiation, you're going to want to be included. But this realtor I found, they do 20 to 30 of these deals a year. And I'm going to go to them. They don't know me. They have regulars that they go to. Then they find a really good deal. They go right to their regulars. Okay. And here's what I'm going to say. What commission do you charge? And what's the answer to that? Let's say 2.5 or 3.
I don't know.
Okay. Let's say 2.5.
How it works in commercial. It's the same.
Sure. It's about the same price range. So it'd be about the same. 2.5 or 3. What I'm going to say is, let's negotiate the commission up front. I want to pay you full commission. That's my negotiation. I may want to pay you a bit more than full commission. If you're used to getting 2.5, I know a high water mark is 3. I'd like to give you 3%. And here's why. It's not because I run a real estate brokerage. Okay. Right. when this person finds a great deal, they're going to say, wow, this deal is great. I'd kind of like to buy it myself, but maybe they do buy it themselves, but they can't buy every great deal they see. So then what do? Then they take it to their top investor client because, hey, I want to give it to John Smith. He pays me, good commission. He's a repeat client. I'm new to the area. And what I'm saying is, hey, we'll role play this. Let's say you're that realtor. Here's what I'm going to do. I know I'm new at this. I know you have, I've done the research. I know you sell 25 to 30 of these a year. Probably what's going to happen is you probably really have 3 or 4 or 5 clients that are buying 6 of these a year. And then you're selling the one-offs. And I'm going to say to you, how do I get to the top of your list? You're
going to tell them how you're going to get to the top.
Yeah.
Of the list. And you're just going to say, listen, I respect your commission. I'm not trying. I want you to earn the money. And I want you to know that if you go to me, I appreciate it and you'll be compensated.
That's right. And if you think that that 1 ounce of this is BS, I'm going to tell you that I made a great buy with a realtor that does a lot of business in Long Beach. And I really saw Long Beach as an up and coming area.
The LBC.
Yeah, the LBC. And this particular property was on 6th Street. And it doesn't take high math to understand that you're 6 blocks from the ocean.
That was my first guess.
Okay. And it was
Pier Avenue, right?
It definitely was a rough building. Okay. But what I said to him was, and this guy makes a lot of money representing very tough investors. And I said to him, what do I have to do? He works for me, by the way. He works at my firm. I say, what do I have to do? Oh, first of all, the guy's never brought me. I ask him all the time, hey, why don't you bring me a deal? Why don't you bring me a deal? He never brings me a deal. You know why he never brings me a deal? I own the firm. He thinks I'm going to chisel his commission. Why would he take a great deal to me and get paid half if he's going to take a great deal to one of his great investor clients that's going to pay him full commission and be delighted?
Right.
So I said to him, what do I have to do?
How long ago?
Maybe 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going there tomorrow.
Oh, okay, great. I'll just give you the address so you can drive by. I had these great plans to renovate it, and it was such a good deal that somebody came along and paid me a bunch of money. I never renovated it. I just sold it, and made really, really good money. And I said to him, what do I have to do? And this guy is tough as nails. Okay. I mean, he does more than $1 million a year in commission and he earns it and he is tough as nails. And I said, what do I have to do to get to the top of the list of, for properties? Cause I want to buy one. I'm ready to buy. I've got the money. Let's go. And I want to buy in your area. What do I have to do to get to the top of the list? And he really was skeptical, to be honest. And I talked him through it. I walked him through it. And what he said was, first of all, I said, I'm going to pay you full commission. You don't have to worry about that. That took a big objection away because he's thinking I own the brokerage. I'm going to try and chisel him. No, I'm going to pay you full commission. What else do I have to do to be top on your list? He goes, okay, well, here's what you have to do. I will actually show you deals first, but you have to tell me yes or no so fast. I'm not sure you can do that because my investors are, like hardcore professionals buying many per year in this area. I'm not sure you can do that. I said, I'll do it. How much time? Is 24 hours, 12 hours, whatever. He said 24 hours is fine. Okay, fine. And then he said, so funny. He said, you have to do everything I tell you to do in the deal.
I like that.
And I said, I was like, now I'm like, now you're crossing the line. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, and he goes, well, I'll tell you what it means. You're going to use my lender. I go, okay. I mean, remember, I am a professional investor. I've got my own lenders. He goes, yeah, but if you want to be at the top of my list, you got to use my lender. I go, okay, why is that? And he said to me, look, I promise you, I'm not getting a kickback from my lender. I'm not whatever. He goes, I've been down this road so many times. We get close to closing. And then, you know, the whole thing falls apart because the lender overpromised and underdelivered. And I've had that happen to me for sure. And my finances are more complicated than the average person. So it does take longer and things don't close on time and, you know, all that sort of thing. Cause I have so many different LLCs and it is a nightmare. And he just said to me, look it, and I conceded that. And I said to him, he said, look it, if you use my lender and we get close to the finish line and my lender says we can't make it on time, I'm going to go back to my seller because I represent the seller. And I'm going to say, look it, this guy is good for it. We're using my lender. This is not his fault. I'll keep the deal together. You use your lender. I'm going to assume it's your fault. Right. So I just said, okay, fine. I'll do that. And then the other thing that he meant, which was also a tougher pill to swallow, was, you know, when I did my inspections, you know, he really wanted me to take the inspections that I got and then do whatever number he told me to do. So in other words, I did inspections. There's like so much stuff wrong with it. Really legitimate ask on this property was $150,000. And I said, look, you know, this is not an over ask. There's probably $200,000 worth of stuff. You know, I'd like $150,000 right. back. And he said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the seller and we're going to say, we want $60,000. And I'm going to tell that seller that he's going to give you the $60,000 and there's not going to be any negotiation.
I understand this guy.
Right.
I don't always get what I want, but I often will tell clients, if you just listen to what I say, and I have smart clients and I do listen to them. I'm not like, go listen to what I say. It's going to work out well for you. And
he said to me, look, he goes, I don't know about 150, but you know, more than 60,000 is fair. Right. So I'm going to go back to my seller and I'm going to tell him that you really wanted 150. Really 100 is more legitimate, but I told you to take 60 and you're going to take 60. You're going to offer 60 and he's going to accept it because this deal is worth way more than that 60,000, than the difference. And so that's what you're going to do. And my seller's going to be happy because there really is $200,000 worth of stuff wrong. And, you know, 60 is, you know, I'm holding the deal together. So I did what he told me to do. Weirdly enough, I said yes to the first one that he showed me. And he said, you don't have to take the first one. I looked at it, I go, I'll take it. Right. He's like, wait a minute. You don't have to take the first one I show you. Right. I go, well, I don't want to take the first one you show me. I want to take this one. Yeah. I want to take the first one that you show me that I love. And this is the first one you showed me. I love it. I want this. This is it. And we closed the deal. Right. So that is what I would do if I got dropped into an area and I knew, I didn't know, I know the area, but I don't know real estate investing. That's how I would do it. It's a little out of context, but speaking of non-negotiables, you got to go. I'm taking my girlfriend out to dinner and I better get home. And you know what? I think we've done just enough in this episode and I really appreciate it. It was a good time. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gary Gold. Take care. All right. That was really good, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. It was great.